Hello, Greg Mannion here again on the Infinite Breath Addiction Stories podcast. And today we have James. How would you say your second name?
James Rusk, R-U-S-K.
James Rusk in New York, is that right?
Yes, New York City, right.
Cool, man. Well, we haven't actually met in person. We spoke a while ago about breathwork to do with Soma. And we've contacted occasionally on Facebook, and then you noticed with the addiction thing. And great, man. I'm really happy that you're here. So could you give us roughly a minute or so, a little bit about who you are, what's going on in your life, where you live, what you do, etc., etc. Just a brief introduction.
Sure. So I'm a 48-year-old man living in New York City. I work as a psychotherapist. I have a private practice, and I'm also in a high school. So that's what I do for a living, and I have history of working with teenagers a lot. That's kind of like my passion.
Okay.
I feel like the teenagers is good to get to them because although their chemicals are all messed up, it's a good place for them to have security and learn what a functional good relationship is.
Right.
And sometimes we don't have parents that can provide that, and there's a lot of things in families that can disrupt teenagers to the point, and this is really where you get to them. So I enjoyed very much.
Okay.
I work with adults as well.
Okay. So you have your own practice, you say?
I do, yes.
And what is that, psychotherapy?
Yes, yep.
All right, nice one. And we spoke about breath work. So have you brought any breath work into your sessions, or is there an interest there still?
I have, and very much so for people that are willing to do that. I also bring it to the school, when we have staff meetings, so the principal will ask me to open up with the breath work. And so I do that a lot, right? And it's really helpful. I mean, when you say breath work, I mean, this, Greg, sometimes people say breath work. What is that? I mean, I breathe every day, but they don't really understand that, humans don't really breathe correctly. And that's really where it gets to, we breathe too fast. We don't breathe in our diaphragm, and when we get upset, our breathing changes, and getting back to a parasympathetic state, that's where you use the breath work.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. And I've got like little like a starter pack which I'm producing as well for people, maybe hopefully to be coaches in my course, but also give them little tools and techniques to help other people. Because I believe as well within a psychotherapy session or any session, just even a few minutes on my YouTube channel, there's loads. Check them out, like 1 to 3 minute tools and techniques, because we can change our state so quickly.
Sure.
And I also find when I'm doing one-on-one sessions with people, you can really tell a lot by the way people breathe. Either with the restriction, some people can't hold the breath in. Some people have a fear of holding the breath out as well. It's intriguing. It doesn't mean I have the answers, but you can tell quite a lot by the way people breathe, how they are at that particular moment, or psychologically.
Right. Yeah. You can tell by the way they walk, by the way they talk, and so there's a lot you could tell about a person and how they're able to cope with stressors.
Yeah, no, exactly. And I think as well in the West, particularly, like you said, humans, but I think in the West at the moment, I'm in Thailand, and just generalizing, but obviously India as well, where pranayama comes from, essentially. I think they breathe differently. There's a different aura about the people in the West. A lot of us, man, we're breathing up here. I used to all the time, but it's habitually breathing a lot deeper and through the nose. But it's so right when you say when the stress comes in, it changes so rapidly. But if we know we've got the ability to turn it around, I'm just constantly walking around on the bike doing different techniques all the time. I like the kind of few minute things that you can just really change your state. And when you're ready, you can go for a deeper meditation with the breath.
Right. Yeah. You could change your state of mind, just through the breath work. And I think, working with athletes, they're really into using breath work, because the performance level of breath work really, we're going off the topic of addiction, but, performance level with athletes, breath work is a big part of that. You could see, and if you ever watch like UFC fighting, they talk about the one that is doing well is breathing through the nose, and the one that's starting to get upset and not losing control is breathing through the mouth.
Yeah. So you actually work with athletes as well?
I have a few times, but I have more friends that are athletes that I probably encouraged. So I wouldn't say, that would be a goal of mine. I
Right.
would like to do that, but yeah. So I mean, my issue right now is, I take insurance. So, if out of pocket would be where I would go next to work with athletes.
Okay, cool, cool.
Yeah.
There's something that intrigues me as well because I know that exactly the nasal breathing and getting people to even tape their mouth while they're doing the exercises, the more they
Right.
get used to it, makes a huge difference. I'm not like an athlete, but I know I've got an option maybe, hopefully, to go up Everest and help some people with some breath work. And it's been a mission. I'm like, great, but I'm going to have to train myself as well to do that deeper breathing and really try through the nose because habitually we will go through the mouth. We need to breathe, and occasionally we do. But if we concentrate on that nose, we get more energy, we'll have more balance all the way through, less breath, longer
Sure.
life.
Yeah. I mean, even when you do the Soma breath work, I think that, a lot of people will say use your mouth, and I think it's more. I feel like it's good to use what you're comfortable with. I mean, because because you're definitely you're not. People's concern of using the mouth is that we're told it's not healthy, but when we're only doing it for a short period of time, it's okay.
Yeah. No, I totally agree. When this is something recently in the coaching call came up, because I say the nose a lot, because I believe in it, but also with the mouth, you're getting like a bit of a stressor on the body, but that can actually have that like reaction where there's a bit of a trauma release. That's what happened with me. I
Right.
got into it through Wim Hof, and they were really pushing us in this session, and there were 200 people. It was amazing. It was such a release I had.
Right.
And I do like the mouth breathing. The one area where I'm cautious when I'm doing the sessions online, and sometimes it's up to 50 people or so, then I always say breathe through the nose, and then once in a while I bring in the mouth, maybe for a minute. But you do have
Right.
to be careful in a group because they can get stressed quite quickly. But if
Sure.
you read it to the point where you say, look, you go if I'm going fast, which I quite like sometimes, then you go at your own pace as long as you tell them before. But a bit of mouth breathing, it has that bit of a stressor, but
It
it
does.
can release. It can release a lot,
It does, yeah. I just, recently had a chest cold, and I just found that it was not helpful to breathe from my mouth. So I was
Yeah,
using my nose, So I think
yeah,
it depends on circumstances as well.
exactly, exactly.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
That's a very good point. It's a very good point because I went on maybe too much about the nose because it's healthier, it's better, but at the same time, yeah, the mouth can give you that bit of a twist in the whole psychology and your feeling. I enjoy it, but I'm just mildly cautious when I'm teaching people.
Right, right. I always find that my lips get really dry, and I want to yawn when I do mouth breathing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But another thing with the yawning as well, it's funny because sometimes people fall asleep in the sessions or they yawn and stuff, and I'm really sorry. I think there's something wrong. I'm like, no, it means you're tired. That's
Yeah.
why meditation, the
Or
breath
it's just
does
a
that as well.
release, or it's just a release of stress, because yawning is a
Yeah.
release of stress. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Or yawning as well. It's a beautiful one. There's many different things behind it. They're just discovering, and it's a sign of empathy. So if someone yawns in front of you, you'll quite often you will yawn as well. You'll copy
Oh,
that into.
sure. I mean, yawning is addictive. You see
Yeah,
someone
yeah,
yawning. Yeah. I remember when I was in school, I was in detention, and there was a picture in front of me of someone yawning, and I think that was like a punishment. By the time I left the chair, I looked like I was crying.
yeah. Nice one. All right. What
Yeah.
I like to do here as well, I'm going to ask you 10 questions. They're not
Okay.
like big, deep questions, but we're going to try and answer them real quick. First thing comes to mind, just as a bit of
Sure.
an icebreaker, get people to know who you are and stuff,
Okay.
and then we'll go into the story. So we'll try and make it in about a minute and a half, something like
Okay.
that. 10 questions real quick. So question number 1. What is your idea of perfect happiness?
Love.
Nice.
Yeah.
Hey.
Just
Sorry, go on.
yeah, just real unconditional love.
Yeah.
Because I think people don't understand when unconditional love is and I love you no matter what.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's kind of hard to achieve, man, because the brain gets in the way, but when it's
Right,
there,
right.
it's something else. Okay, thank
Yeah.
you. What place would you most like to visit?
It's funny because it's right where you are, my friend. I mean,
Thailand.
yeah, Thailand, or Bali, one of
I'm
those
going
two.
there next.
Yeah, one of those two places. Honestly, I mean, it's just two places I've always wanted. And my son was living there for God, 6 months.
It's beautiful, really
Yeah,
nice.
yeah.
Especially
So
now, it's not the best for the Thais now in the like with the tourism, but for us that are here, it's just quiet and really nice.
yeah, yeah, yeah. No, those are the two, Bali or Thailand. Yeah.
Okay, well, when I go to Bali, I'll send you some photos as well.
Yeah,
Beautiful.
yeah.
What is your favorite color and why?
Aqua. I mean, it's a, I love Native American culture, and the aqua color in their Navajo jewelry is just something that I've always been drawn to. It just, I don't know, makes me feel calm, and I've always been drawn to that color.
Beautiful. And that's another good reason in Thailand because the beaches and the water's clear. It's that kind of agua
Yeah,
blue.
yeah,
It's
yeah. Right.
stunning. You know,
Yeah,
I
yeah.
forget it. I forget it's there sometimes. I'm often stuck in here online, and it really is beautiful. Let's go. One thing that you like about yourself.
That I'm present.
Present. Nice. Okay. Beautiful.
Mhm.
Do you believe in God?
I do.
Okay.
I do.
Uh,
I was brought up I mean, I was brought up Catholic, but I'm not. I don't consider myself Catholic any longer. But I really look at things as a universal picture, though.
Beautiful. Okay.
You know,
Thank you. What talent would you most like to have?
um, playing an instrument.
Okay.
Yeah, playing an instrument. I think that I see you playing guitar, and I love to play an instrument. It's great when we could start those things when we're young, but sometimes our parents don't provide those things. But so I would love to learn a ukulele or something.
I was just going to say that's actually what I've got, but it's a baritone, so it's between like a normal ukulele size, and it's actually tuned like a guitar. It only has
Yeah,
4 strings, and if you get a good quality one, the sound is amazing. It's not that difficult, you know. You should try it,
right.
man. Yourself a
Yeah, I
ukulele,
think
but
I mean
don't go
music
for
is
the
very
cheap one.
powerful.
Yeah,
What's that?
yeah. Don't go for the cheap one because ukuleles, there's quite a lot of them, and the really cheap ones, they just don't sound good. Go like a
Yeah, I
hundred
know.
dollars.
I know. Yeah, so I'll have to talk to you about that later. Yeah,
Like, cool,
get your
man.
advice.
What if you could be called by any other name, what would you like to be called?
When I was younger, I wanted to be called Dante, and I don't know why. Maybe.
Dante's Inferno, maybe.
Yeah,
Great
yeah,
Italian
yeah.
opera.
I was a kid and I wanted to be called Dante, but I mean now I mean it's funny, James is my birth name, and but people call me Jimmy or Jim, and I used to get annoyed by that, but I don't really care if it's Jim, James, or Jimmy. So yeah, I mean I'm cool with my name, James.
Okay, nice one, man. Okay, what is your favorite swear word?
God, probably fuck.
It's coming up a lot these days.
Yeah,
Mine too. It's just so
yeah,
easy. It's just so easy. Gets it out real quick, you know. Okay,
yeah.
beautiful. And the final question: what is your motto on life or for life?
My motto in life is I hate to go back to what I said before, but it's really just to stay present because I mean when we're present, that's when we really are focused on what's going on right now. And so if we tend to go in our past or in our future, then we get some anxiety, we get some feelings about that. And I really think staying present in the moment, we're giving that person our 100%. I mean,
Mm,
I have to remind myself, being virtual nowadays, sometimes I have my phone next to me or, and I have a note on my MacBook here, focus on one task 100%. So, so staying present that's it.
that's no, it's good advice and something I need as well because I'm very much and I use it in a creative way, but I'm also highly distracted. So we're on the computer now, the phone's there, and I never stop. But yeah, it's good advice. Here's one that someone told me recently that every single hour she has like a little alarm clock on the hour,
All
and
right.
this little bell goes off, and she says she takes 30 seconds or a minute just to meditate on something and be silent and
That's
just
great.
thought.
That's
Yeah,
great.
and I
Yeah.
think I
Yeah.
should actually do that myself more because she's really present, this woman, and it's just small thing. These little
Yeah.
things like a micro habit can help, you know. So
Sure.
cool.
There's a really good book about presence, about the presence process by Michael Brown. He's from South Africa.
I'll
And
write it down.
I mean, he actually talks about conscious breath work, and he went through a lot. But I mean, in his book, you just learn a lot about presence, and his book has taught me a lot. It's one of those books that you just read slowly, and because you're doing the work, it's actually
Okay.
teaching you the breath work twice a day.
Ah, nice. Okay. That's
Yeah,
another thing
yeah,
with the breath work. The breath work does make you present, man. I like the visualizations and I like the high energy and the breath holds especially, but it really makes you
sure.
present. That's your 10 questions we got there,
Okay,
but I want to ask you one more because
right.
behind you, you've got all these maps on the wall, and I
Yes.
love maps. Love
Yeah,
them. It reminded me
I
about
have more.
flying.
Sure.
What's the reason for the maps?
My wife and I like to travel a lot. I mean, that's what brought us together. And so when we bought this apartment together, we wanted to have, something about us in the apartment. So these are places that we traveled: Hawaii, California. Um, let's see, yeah, California, Hawaii, and oh yeah, those are different islands in Hawaii. So this is California. That's San
Oh,
Francisco.
I was there not long ago. Okay.
San Francisco, Oakland. Yeah, yeah. And then over there, I have maps over there too.
I love the old maps. My dad's got loads as well. They
Yeah.
always tease me.
So the one in the middle is where we met. That's Brooklyn.
Okay.
The one on the right side, that's where my wife was from. My wife is actually born in El Salvador, but she was adopted. But this is where she grew up in Massachusetts, different areas in Massachusetts. And then I grew up in Connecticut, in Newtown, and then New Milford in Connecticut. So we just put two areas of where she was from and two areas where we're from, and then in the middle where we met.
Beautiful, man. I love it.
Yeah,
And looking at them, it's reminded me of flying, which I kind of miss, And I traveled a lot just before the lockdown, and I have done anyway. But like, I love that feeling when there's no clouds and you're flying over the sea and you
yeah,
come to the coast, and you can see it in your mind anyway, or through TV, and there's a map and the computer in front of your screen. But it's beautiful to see the shapes and also how kind of small it is in a
sure.
way. It's big, but it's
Yeah,
small because especially with TV and films and all these different places, and now I've done so much traveling. You're traveling over all these places, and they're just little dots. And I always think about the history of the place. When I was
you think about the what?
the history. So
Oh,
if
the
I'm flying
history, right?
over,
Yeah,
yeah, I
sure.
came from. I was in San Francisco, then Florida, New York. The flight went from Florida, New York, over to the Middle East, and then here. And it was
Wow.
amazing because I know left New York. It was light. I could see it. I was only there for
Yeah,
2 hours
yeah.
before. And then you go up the coast around Canada. I knew my mum went there. I have a friend there in early years over there. And then we flew around, and we had the screen on the back of the seat, and we also had WhatsApp. It's like freaky. And I was like, turn the phone off, but I couldn't resist because I then flew all the way from New York around the top. Didn't take that long, maybe 5 hours. And then we're going over Europe, and I passed right over Liverpool, where I was born, where I lived
Oh,
until I was
wow. Yeah,
right over. And I'm messaging people in Liverpool saying, I'm flying over there. It's
yeah.
the most amazing, surreal thing. Yet we
It
can
is
do it.
amazing. Yeah,
Yeah, and
yeah,
then flying over Dresden in
yeah.
Germany, I'm looking down and I'm going, my God, Second World War, and I love it. The
I
maps.
know. Yeah,
It,
we love to travel too. When our longest trip was to South Africa, where we went
okay,
on a safari and explore different areas of South Africa. But yeah, I mean, it's just amazing getting to a new place. Being
yeah,
American since I was a kid, traveling was a thing of mine, and I never wanted to identify myself as American traveling.
right,
And I think that I lived in Belgium for a short period of time, and I think that people could identify Americans and how they behave and what they do and their mannerism. And I never really wanted to be that. I wanted to go where the people lived, where the people. I didn't want to go to the tourist areas. I mean, my
yeah,
wife and I feel the same way. I want to. Sometimes you feel like you need to, like, if you go to a place and you want to see something like I don't know, like the Vatican, you go to Italy,
yeah,
you want to see that, you want to see that artwork that's there. But it's really going to where the people live and getting to know the culture. That's what I love about traveling. Getting to know the
yeah,
food, the culture, how they live.
yeah. Spending time more than a week, and that brings me to the point with me. I've always loved traveling. I've lived in various countries in my teens and then around 20s, and I lived in Spain for the last 15 years. But what was my point? Yeah, with the breath work and the sessions that I've been doing. So it's about 17 countries now that I've traveled. There's done sessions in there, and they're all human beings, so it's similar. But what happens is when I'm traveling there, let's say I'm in a certain place for a few weeks. In the past, if I was just traveling, I'd do the tourist thing. I go here, I go there. Maybe I wouldn't meet too many people. But you do sessions, or you get
Right.
involved with people. You are right in the community. You're meeting people on a totally different level. And like
Right.
now, I can have lots of friends and connections on an emotional level all over the world, and it's absolutely amazing. It's one of the
Yeah.
best things about the job, I think.
You know, one big difference to me in traveling though is that before traveling, when I used to travel, my mind was what beer do they drink? You know, what alcohol do they have there that I could really enjoy? And being from New York, we're kind of you know, we have everything here already. So now, I mean, it's been a year and almost 5 months, and I have traveled one time. You know, I went to Orlando before the lockdown. I was at a conference, and that was the first trip I had where I didn't drink, and I was really. I mean, I went to a bar to eat, and I mean, I went to, you know, in the airport, I went to the Delta Lounge where, you know, you could drink whatever you want. And, it's really interesting being sober and going to these places
Yeah,
now and just being really able get more out of it, you know,
exactly.
to get more out of, you know, and it's, you know, kind of sad when you watch people going through the moments that I used to go through, you know, like going to the bar at the airport and getting drunk and then getting on a plane and then drinking more. And then when you drink and get on a plane, you're gonna get more drunk than I mean, because of the altitude.
Yeah,
You know, so that's a big difference now. And traveling now, which I've only done one time, but I mean, next time I travel, I don't plan on drinking again. You
good,
know, that's not in my it's not gonna happen.
cool. All right.
You know,
But that perfectly brings us towards the addiction stories, really. If you
right?
don't mind, going back as far as you want to go back to your life story, if you
Sure.
like, and what happened and why you think you were drinking, how it got to that stage, basically what it was like before, what it's like now, and then also what was the catalyst for the change as well.
Yeah, I mean, you know, I moved around a lot when I was a kid, and I lived in Connecticut, as I said before. And being the new kid a lot, I just, you know, there's always that, you know, you're fitting in. And when
Yeah,
I was in Connecticut, I mean, how this all started was a friend of mine had his dad was an alcoholic, and he had alcohol hidden around the house, and he had a big Gatorade bottle full of vodka. So we carried that big. I was probably let's see, maybe 12, and carried that bottle. And we were walking around, and I drank it, and then I spilled it, and then I drank more, and then they thought that I finished it. So that I got a lot of attention from that, and then it kind of got around that I could drink a lot, and
yeah,
then that attention helped me feel good. And then I mean that was the first time where I got, you know, alcohol into my system. I mean, I do have a history of alcoholism in my family on both sides of my family, which I do feel like um, we have to be mindful of, because when it's in
yeah,
our family, then we are more susceptible of becoming addicts or alcoholics. So I watched my grandfather high drinking when I was a kid, you know, and act different. So then it just started from there, and I drank socially, but then it was such a I get attention seeker, but I felt good. You know, I felt good when
yeah,
I drank. You know, and I felt like this is terrific. And I dabbled in other things that you know, cocaine and a few other things that in college that just, you know, made me a different person that was not
yeah,
good. I looked like a skinny kid that didn't take care of himself. You know, and not healthy. And you know, I had relationships, and it just destroyed the relationships. And I'm getting married and having two kids, and I was I the way I always drank was having like two or three drinks. You know, there were only a few times I would drink to get to the point of, you know, passing out when I was in college. So but being that I drank every single day, two three, when I say beers, I'm talking about you know, percentage of like 14%, you know, like a barley
right, right,
wine or
yeah,
double IPA. So when I
yeah,
would go to the
Belgian
store,
type beer.
yeah, so when I would go to the store, that's what I would look for, the alcohol volume. You know, I would look for,
Yeah,
that's what I would look for. And then and then I mean I enjoy the taste, but it impacted my life so much that you know, it just I became a different person, and I hit it. I hit it. I would drive home and sit in my car before I come upstairs and have a couple of beers in my car. It was always alone pretty much. And then if I met
yeah,
up with friends, I would drink before meeting up with friends. And and then I got remarried. And we wanted to have a child together, and the alcohol was really getting, my behavior was very, very bad. It was not healthy. So my wife said to me, and we can't do this if you have a child, if you're going to drink. And I knew it. And I tried AA in the past and COA and Children of Alcoholics and all those things. But I mean, I always left the groups feeling depressed and feeling like I wanted to drink because those stories were so sad. And I mean, they lost businesses, and they lost, I mean, horrible
Yeah.
stories,
I
and I
know.
never felt good about it. And I'm not putting it down. It's good for some people, but it didn't work for me. It made me feel worse. It made me drink afterwards, as a matter of fact.
Okay.
And so I actually found something else that, when you really want to get clean, it's like that feeling that you know, you have to get it yourself. For other people, your loved ones, your family, shaming you about it, you telling you have to do it, that doesn't work. That makes it worse, where you're just going to hide more.
Yeah.
So the catalyst for me was just to get my life together, being in my mid 40s. And, I've always wanted to be healthy. And as a matter of fact, whenever I drank it, I would always exercise to counterbalance it.
Okay.
To try to feel like I was like taking care of myself. But I mean, my liver is just not good. I'm still working on my liver functions.
Okay.
Um, Unfortunately, I have fatty liver disease. And one would think that it would be better by now, but I'm still working on how to get my liver better, because the liver is huge. Liver is
Yeah.
gigantic, in a big organ in your body, and we don't take care of it. I mean, that's where all the toxins go through.
Yeah.
So the catalyst was really for me to be a healthy person, so I could be a healthy dad, and so I could be my true self. Because when you do drink, it's not your true self.
Yeah.
You become, angry or sad. I mean, look, alcohol is a poison. It's a toxin, and it's a depressant.
Yeah.
So when people that are depressed and tend to drink because it's a depressant. And so that's why, I drank for so many years. And it's just, it's not hard to stay sober for me now, because I just get what my life feels like now.
You're right.
The only time it's hard is when, on a sunny day here, I walk down the street and I see everyone outside enjoying, a drink, and you see them laughing, and I get a little sad about that, because I want to sit there and laugh with people too. But and I can. They have great non-alcoholic beverages
Yeah.
nowadays, fantastic ones, as a matter of fact. So I sometimes I'll buy those that have 0% alcohol. One is Athletic Brewery. They have a really good IPA that I really like. That just, it tastes good, and it doesn't have
Yeah.
it's zero alcohol. So, I mean, that's really my story. And just, staying with it to the point of having, another thing about addiction is that structure is important.
Yeah.
So I know when I had a lot of time to myself, it was just not a good idea. I needed some sort of structure. I needed some guidance. And I think that, when you have this, background, then you need that. Through the breath work, I went to a breath work in New Mexico, for addiction. Actually, it was more educational, through Stan Grof's program.
Right.
Yeah, so I went there, and it was really educational about addiction, and I learned a lot about that. But the one thing about us addicts is that sometimes I feel like we're seekers. you know
Yeah.
I feel like we're seeking something, and that's why sometimes we get caught up in addiction, and that's why sometimes we get caught up in alcohol, because we're seeking something. And that's great, but I think when we have to seek something that is sober, and that's what's going to really get us to that place.
What I'm just picking up on there is what other people mention as well, and a lot of the time with addiction is trying to escape the present moment. But you've talked a lot about presence.
Right.
Is it something that you've always felt or wanted or been capable of having even when you were drinking a lot, or is it something you're more passionate about now because you know the benefits and you don't need
Because
to
I'm
escape?
passionate about it now. Yeah, I didn't
Right.
really have any idea when I would drink, I would probably go into a past situation, talk about something that happened in the past. And no, I was never present when I was drinking.
Cool.
You
So
know,
you sorry.
yeah. So I found that now being present is really, you know, and I still, you know, have to remind myself just to be present. But when I was drinking, I was never present.
With the when you mentioned like a catalyst, was there a certain point? Because for me, I totally get AA and how it can't be for everyone and 12-step programs. I liked it. It took me a while actually. It took me a year or so to even accept it, and I went in there drunk sometimes, and eventually really made the decision for me because God. Now it's
Right.
mentioned in AA, but I don't think it is about that at all. But
No, it's not. Right.
gift of desperation. That's what I got told. And all these sayings at first, I was like, I'm never going to use those sayings. And a few months later, they all made sense, man.
Right.
But gift of
Right.
desperation for me, I couldn't go anywhere else. I'd had it, man. Several years of really deep, bad drinking. Now, what was it for you in the sense of like, was it just a light one day, or was it what you mentioned with your children and your family and
It
things?
was,
Or
yeah, it was a day that I mean, I told my wife I stopped, and I didn't. And we went to a movie theater, and this is a movie theater when you could, you know, they serve you drinks while you watch the movie. And I went to, and I wasn't, I drank before going to the movie. She didn't know. And when we're in the movie, I told her I had to go to the bathroom, and instead of going to the bathroom, I got a pint, and it hit around a corner, and then she came and she looked at me, and that look kind of like set me off. That disgusting look, you know, like, you know, and so that really was the day that I said that this is like, this is horrible, you know, and that I don't want to see that look again.
I don't want that look, but then you found the inner strength because I remember as well. A lot of other people would say, "I was doing this for my wife, for my kids, and stuff," but then eventually you have to do it for yourself. Was it you doing it really for yourself at that point?
You know, I had to say, I don't mean to plug anyone, but I mean, what really helped me is Craig Beck's program, because it's a program that I bought, and it really taught us that, you know, it was interesting. It was about addiction and how not to label it, and
Okay.
how to, he went through a lot of the, you know, he also offers hypnosis that I didn't really participate in that, but reading through, there's a day-to-day structure where you read what you do today, and that really helped me get through, because I was taking notes, and I was really, you know, I mean, writing helps me a lot when I
Yeah.
write, you know, because that helps organize our thoughts. So that helped me a lot. That really helped me a lot, and because it just didn't make me feel stigmatized. You know, it didn't
Yeah,
make.
yeah, I get that one. It's a funny one. Now I'm using the word addiction with this and with the 7-day
No,
challenge
I get it.
because it gets people and makes us think. But I also understand it's like the word trauma, right? So
Right.
trauma, I believe, is always there, but it can seem too big. And there's many different types, some smaller things, some really serious things.
Sure.
But addiction, I think it's a hard word for some people to accept, and I get it. But I'm also a believer that you've got to try and understand it a little bit to then maybe make that
Yeah,
change.
definitely. You have to understand it. Yeah, you have to understand it.
But within that program, though, that you mentioned, I don't mind plugging at all. I can even put the link below in the comments because who is it exactly? What is the program?
Craig Beck, he's from England, as a matter of fact.
Okay.
I mean, yeah, I think his name. I bought it I mean, like 2 years ago, and then I didn't use it. You know,
What is the actual? What is it called? Because I could put the link in. I think it's a good thing.
yeah, I have. I mean, it's Craig Beck. I just have it as, you know, Craig. That's his first time, and then Beck, Beck. He's from England.
Okay.
Yeah,
And
he has a lot of.
what's it? What do you know? What it's called? Or
I could look that up because I have it through Facebook, as a matter of fact.
is
So
is it the one which is like the 1 year no beer? Is
no,
it? There's a kind of
no,
group
no.
where
That I know.
people.
No, that's something else. That's not it. That's James Swanwick.
Okay, I've got to
Yeah,
check it out.
yeah. So I could while we're talking, I could look for it, because but that's how I found it.
But all these things, you see, I
Oh,
did.
it's called Stop Drinking Expert.
Okay.
Yeah, Stop Drinking Expert. And he has
And
a
you were.
seminar. He goes in England, and he has seminars in England, but he also comes to the States, and he travels with. But now everything is virtual. But I mean, he has a really good books out that I read. So when you get the program, you get all those books, and it just that it was kind of telling me everything I already knew, but I needed to hear it again, and needed to have a structure to go
Yeah.
through this every day.
Yeah.
You know, it,
The structure side, yeah, for me it was the 12 steps, but I believe it's important. But what I'm learning by doing these things actually is there's far more options out there. And I mean, God bless AA in that, but
right,
it's very old fashioned as well. And the book, the way it's written, I never really read the book, but I did take a lot from it. It's old fashioned, and it also, I'm a believer in kind of diving in a little bit to the trauma or trying to understand it. And an example being that Bill and Bob who started AA, and Bill had a history of trauma, like I believe a lot of people do, but it wasn't really discussed much in AA, you know, which I kind of appreciate, because is it always necessary to dive in? And we're not necessarily therapists for that within that group anyway of
right.
AA. So I do get it, but I think it's important, because I remember with AA, it was like a year or two in. I went pretty steadfast for a year or two, and it really helped me change the habit.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
never
yeah.
went in.
Well, I
But
think
then
what,
I didn't want to sit there and just say I was ill constantly,
yeah,
because I
I know,
don't
yeah.
feel it now. Do you know what I
Saying
mean?
that over, saying that over and over is really like, you know, I'm an alcoholic, and I mean, the one thing I do believe is you need to find a circle. You need to find a network. Because doing it on your own is something that we try, and I don't think it's a good idea. I think you have
Yeah.
to find that network. You have to sometimes change your friends.
Yes.
You can't hang out with the friends that don't understand it. Don't respect it. If you don't drink anymore, you don't drink
Exactly.
anymore.
Yeah. But it goes back to what I truly believe the opposite of addiction is connection. And that's what I got a lot in the rooms. And it would also help my ego, because you
Right,
go in at the beginning, I needed to say for quite a while, I'm ill, I'm an alcoholic, and all those things. In rewiring the brain, good, because it was
right,
big things time. But years later, I didn't need to. But the connection in the rooms, or like you say, anywhere, having that, because I believe that is one of the ills of our society, and especially in the West, that we're all often on our own. Even me now, I'm here, it's a beautiful place, but I'm living on my own. We're all living in different places, and we don't have the tribe as much. It's
right.
probably there, but you've got to go out and seek it. And that, I
Sure.
really believe that that's a big help. And I think a lot of us shy away from it. I know I do, but I'm also very much dive in when I'm ready. But that is, I think you hit the nail on the head. It was the key for me, that
Right.
having that
Yeah.
connection. It doesn't matter what Bill, John, Jane do, but they could be
Sure.
80 years old or 20 years old, which was the case in those rooms. And you'd connect on that one thing, you know.
Right.
And
Right. Yeah.
into the ego, you block the ego, because you can walk in, oh God, such and such and that. But I'd listen. I would
Right.
focus and listen, and all the rest would drop away. I'd empathize straight away. As soon as I felt that connection, I wasn't alone anymore. Because
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
end of drinking is surrounded by cans or bottles in your room and just you. And it's
Right.
fucking awful. It's
Yep. Yep.
depressing. You don't even see it. But then to come out of that, there are places, but I'm really intrigued with other different ideas now that I'd like to dive into and just put out there, so people know there's more options,
Sure.
you know.
Yeah. I mean, one thing that I'm always pondering is like, how do you help, a young one when they, like a
Right.
teenager or someone in their 20s when they just don't want to hear it, and they're just, but it's really hard because you can't tell someone something they don't want to hear.
Yeah.
And when they're, and because they're just going to hide it, and so that's really the part that I haven't been able to really figure out how to support. I'm really just, I get, the only thing I could see is, you're there for that person, let them know,
Yeah.
and don't shame them, be supportive. I have a nephew that's in rehab now, and he's telling my son that he can't wait to get out so he could drink.
Mm.
So I've reached out to him, say I'm here for you. But I mean, that's the part where, when I got it, when something just, I had to get it. I personally had to get it. There's no one that was going to tell me that,
Yeah.
this is something, you have to personally get it. And that's really the mind opening.
It is, but I think you've got a very valid point with younger people, because I had a friend of mine who got me into AA, but then he was early 20s. I was like mid 30s, late 30s. So it was kind of perfect timing for me. I had pretty much done everything, but he was still surrounded by younger people going out. So we kept slipping, you know, and
Yeah.
it must be a lot harder because everyone's drinking and doing stuff. But then it also brings me back to the point about guilt and shame seem to be huge ones when people are trying to stop, and you put it on yourself or other people put it on you. But then
Sure.
we eventually realizing that you have a choice, which I suppose is going to be a lot harder when you're younger if you haven't had all the bad shit happen. You haven't
Yeah.
wasted
Yeah.
time. But then eventually realizing you do have a choice. And I
Yeah.
suppose that's one of the main things I'd like to get out there with these podcasts, in that there is a way. but you've got to
Yeah.
choose it.
Well, I think that, yeah, there is a way. I think, when you do stop drinking, you have to be aware of what the brain's going to happen, what's going to happen with the brain and what's going to happen with your sleep and
Yeah,
your nerves. It's going to be a little bit of a roller coaster in the
yeah,
beginning,
yeah,
and then holidays, birthdays, those are the ones that you have to plan for those days. So if
yeah,
you're going to your in-laws, you're going to your friends, and bring that non-alcoholic drink, and limit your time maybe. It's really important to plan holidays and birthdays. So this was my first time around going through holidays and birthdays not drinking, and it wasn't hard because I was able to find another way to celebrate. But
right.
I can imagine for someone else, that could trigger, whenever I got with my family before, I would always drink, so it's definitely uncomfortable seeing them and not drinking. But
Yeah,
I'm getting used to it, and it's starting, to get better. But that's something that we all go through when we have these holidays and birthdays and events, or just we're feeling shitty, just, yeah, that was our
yeah.
go-to.
Yeah, it was the go-to, but it was weird because I think I went so low that it was maybe 6 months in, and what was it? A miracle is a change in perception. That's what I
Right,
read, and I liked it because I really had changed my perception completely from going, I can't stop, it's impossible, I need it, instead of occasionally wanting it and then realizing that I didn't need it. That was
right,
one day specifically, I was drinking a ridiculous amount of Coca-Cola, and everyone, it doesn't matter, do what you want, smoke and everything. But
right.
then I like, God, I really want a bottle of wine right now. It's maybe 3 or 4 months in. I
Yeah,
really
yeah,
want one. And then I stopped myself and I was like, I want one, but I don't need it. That was
yeah.
like a key moment, man. I was like, I
Right,
don't need it. Before it was like, I need it. I can't. Yet without the alcohol and just a little bit of work, I'm more than capable of doing anything I want, being
sure.
around anyone. But the beautiful thing as well is with once you make the decision, truly make the decision, I think it takes a weight off, but then it really is possible to go around being those people, those situations. I could stay out till 5 in the morning if I'm in the mood, going around with people if it's good time, if I'm
Right,
enjoying it. And I just think
right,
like coffee.
right.
But
Sure.
then if you don't want to be there, I just leave at 11 o'clock and I'm fine. But
Yeah,
that's most of
yeah.
my personality. I can go one way or the other. And it is really possible. Once you make that decision, you don't need it. Like my dad said, you're not born needing to drink.
Well, what's interesting, when you get to a place like you may be, and I feel like I am close to, you could actually go out to those places where people are drinking and
Yeah.
not, you could not want to drink. You could enjoy watching them,
Yeah,
and
it's the weirdest thing.
yeah. So I think that, and it's kind of, and it puts things in a better perspective when they start acting, a certain way, and you're like, thank God I'm not acting like that.
Yeah, because it
Yeah.
does. I mean, yeah, when it gets really stupid and you see it, and it can be actually depressing sometimes because people know my history, and then other people come to me when they're drinking a lot of the alcoholics and they slip, and it gets to a point where you're like, oh my God, what are you doing? It's
Yeah,
really
yeah,
hard to watch.
yeah. The decision
Um,
making is just, yeah.
but then it creates this kind of not a barrier because I can be around people and I can try and help, but when it's really heavy drinking, you've got to just walk away at a certain point
Right,
and say, you've got
right.
to do this. I'm there, but you can't keep helping. There's got to be this point, but it's a fascinating subject, especially when you see people coming in and out. But I really believe once that decision is made, it's
Right.
totally possible.
Well,
It's totally
what's interesting, it's also, once you make that decision, then you have to continue every day, because that decision can be changed the next day.
yeah,
I found when I stopped drinking, because I was used to having a beer around like 5 p.m. I would go get. I don't usually eat sweets, but I would go get ice cream. And
yeah,
and when I got the ice cream, because I would not eat and I would drink. So once I ever ate something, especially something like heavy, I would never drink. It would just, I know for a
yeah,
fact that I wouldn't drink. I have something in my stomach. So for me, that helped a lot. I mean, I had to do it for a few weeks. I had to have ice cream, and just say, this is just temporary. I knew it was temporary because I
yeah,
didn't want to get used to having ice cream every day. But I needed a sweet because that's what my brain was used to.
yeah,
You know,
totally.
and that's part of the diet where you have to just understand it and give yourself that time for your brain to slowly get back into a healthy brain. Because it's not with the craving for that sweet, alcohol. So that's what alcohol. That's
Yeah,
what your body reacts to, the sugar.
yeah. and the reaction in the brain and the dopamine release, and you're like, oh, serotonin and stuff. But then this is why they got like 90 days. Say roughly it's 3 months. If you really, there's 21 days or there's 3 months that can really change the brain. And
It
like
could
now they
definitely,
know more about science and neural pathways and
right.
everything, man. And like you can create neurons later in your life at 80,
Yeah,
90. It's
definitely.
possible. They
Yeah.
didn't think that. We are
Right.
this way. We are our genes and that's that. And I've never believed that. I believe it's half nurture, half nature, and how that can constantly change, but our environment makes a huge difference on us. But when you study it a little bit and you understand that, it becomes easier, I think,
Yeah, or sleep changes, I mean, in the beginning it's
Yeah,
a little hard for sleep,
yeah,
but after time, because sleep is so important. I mean,
yeah.
sleep is so important for our brain that's when our brain detoxes, that's when our body goes through a lot. So when you're drinking and you're sleeping, you're not getting deep sleep well, you're
Yeah.
not getting REM sleep well, you're waking up a lot, you're probably getting up to go to the bathroom. I mean, so getting good sleep after being sober is fantastic. You
Yeah,
know,
and just eating. And then you reminded me with the ice cream, someone else said for 2 years, when he stopped for 2 years, every night he would have a huge tub of ice cream. And it's just a thing to say to people because, like, look, doesn't matter what you do. I was drinking ridiculous amounts of Coca-Cola and I started smoking little rollies. And everyone was
right.
like, it doesn't matter. Just do it. Do it for now. And eventually I did stop all of that,
Yeah, yeah,
but
yeah,
that the brain is craving something. So give yourself a break. Do the things
yeah.
that might not be good for you, but it's not the one thing that's going to kill you, and then
Sure.
eventually you can change.
Yeah, I think when you try to tell yourself I'm going to do this without having ice cream, having a Coca-Cola or something, you might be setting yourself up because it's just temporary. I mean, if you were
Yeah,
to have that ice cream for the rest of your life, yeah, okay, that's a problem.
yeah,
But it's not. It's temporary. It's at the most a couple months, and not even that. I think for me it was I think maybe a month. You
right.
know, and then I
But
started.
I think it's a very good point though, because I've got a friend here and he stopped drinking again now, and he's being quite strict with himself. And I was like, but be careful, man, because you're gonna be really, really strict, really, really healthy, and get this way, and then it's possible to go right back around the other way, and go back
Right,
to the. It's a bit too
right,
strict. And I see it, a lot of people, even the place I work here, where a lot of these like business people and stressed out, they come for 2 weeks in this health place, get really healthy, feel great, and then go straight back to like more stress and don't change the patterns.
yeah, yeah. Yeah,
And
that's having that balance.
yeah,
I mean, that's why
yeah,
the breath work is good. I mean, I sometimes I don't do it every day, but I really would love to get into the habit of doing it every day because I know when I do the breath work every day, I have a better day.
no, it's true, man.
Because I'm
On,
more
on that,
balanced.
yeah, on that one, what I do so it's easier. I got accessible and demystifying the whole process because that's what I come from. Is like on my YouTube channel, check some of them out, man. There's a few 15-minute meditations where you're getting 2 rounds of breathing. So it's not
Right,
big long sessions, but you're getting the hit. You're feeling good, and maybe it'll make you do a longer session. Or there's even
right,
one like 5 minutes. But I
right.
employ people to go in there and try the short ones, totally free, and give them a go. But
Yeah,
you
yeah,
just reminded me of something before we finish. You mentioned about the kids or the younger people with the addiction, and then also the breath work, how it helps. Now, I haven't done it yet, but I plan hopefully in this month, because I know I've got the tools there, the breath work, and I know I've got a bit of knowledge with the addiction, is to make a course on this, not to solve people's problems,
right.
not to say we're going to cure, but to give people help and advice and with breath work. So maybe it's a conversation we could have another day, because
Yeah,
if you
yeah,
some of the problems, which I can see as well, but you have a different aspect on it, then could come up with some ideas, because I know I
sure.
could create something which will help. And you're right with the breath work; it's a state changer in seconds, man.
Yeah, yeah,
So yeah,
yeah.
maybe we could discuss that another time.
Definitely looking forward to it. Right.
Good man. All right, just on an ending note, do you have what advice would you give someone if, for example, they are in the throes of addiction, any type of addiction, and something you could say that could just help them, that might give them a little bit of hope to just be able to stop?
I would say, find that source that is going to really help you. The source that's right, that feels right for you, whatever that is. We mentioned AA, Craig Beck, and we mentioned, but find the one that you feel most comfortable with, because
Yeah,
what works for me doesn't is not going to work for you.
yeah,
And I really feel like, everyone. I mean, I do believe that the route is similar, in
yeah.
becoming sober and clean, but the whole ignition is different. Starting the
Yeah.
key is different.
That's a
So
very good
find
one.
find that right one. I mean, find a mentor. I think is
Yeah,
that in one that is non-judgmental, you know, because you can't, I mean, judging a addict is like, you know, you're just telling them to go hide it more.
Yeah.
Find someone that's gonna understand when you mess up and help you plan so you don't, you know. I mean, you find that right person, and maybe more than one, because that person may not be available.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, I never really needed that, where I needed to call someone, because I didn't, you know, but I think that people need that, you know. It's for some people, they need that mentor,
And
you know.
especially in moments, like I say to people occasionally, I say, look, just message me if you think you're going to drink or something. It doesn't happen
Right.
often, but if you do, you haven't helped me, because I'll be like, the message. And even just by sending it, you're asking for help, and it changes the way you're thinking. So before they even receive the message, usually I would feel better. But you're right, having people there. It's a great
Yeah.
point I've written down. The ignition, the key, it's different for
Yeah,
everyone.
yeah.
The journey is similar, but the ignition's different. So yeah, it's a really good point.
It's also, I mean, if you're questioning, you know, the difference in your life with drinking, without drinking, I mean, go, you know, the what would you say, 30 to 90 days without
Yeah,
drinking, and see how you feel. You know what I
yeah,
mean? I mean, just take that. I mean, you know, we have, you know, take that 30 to 90 days. I'm not sure
yeah,
which one. I would say probably 90 days better, but to keep it, you know, I think if you go to 30 days, then you know you could do it. See how you feel. See if you taste your food better. You
yeah.
know, you
See how
know, 'cause
life is. Just waking up in the morning
you
and being
know,
like, oh, I'll have a cup of
yeah,
tea and
you're
do
right.
something. Yeah,
See how your relationships are. You know, people are gonna notice a difference. You know, and I just think that's really the key. You know, and get away from the toxic people. You know, because those are the toxic people are just gonna say, just have one more. You know,
exactly.
yeah, you know, so you know, you gotta change. I mean, I do feel what AA says about people, places, and things is definitely 100%. You
Yeah,
know,
it is.
that's 100%. You know, sometimes like I used to have to drive a different way to get home, you know, for a short period of time. But I mean, you got to avoid things for a short period of time.
Yeah,
Don't
no, I
set
agree.
yourself up for failure.
Yeah, don't say I'm just taking a day at a time, but it is possible. You're right. I like that one as well. Take a different route home, man. Yeah, just change the habit.
Yeah, yeah.
Beautiful.
You don't need to pass by that place. You know, and create different moments. You know, create better. You know, because the moments that we have are the ones that we've been drinking or doing something. Create moments of being sober that you have a better memory. It's
Yeah,
more rewarding. You know.
it
All right,
is.
Craig. I'm sorry I'm going on a little too long, but
No, it's beautiful.
uh,
Absolutely beautiful. I think there's a
yeah,
lot of stuff there, man. I really appreciate it.
yeah.
Try the 7-day challenge. I'll send you the link. It's just something,
Okay,
and maybe even other people you know that it might benefit from. You
sure.
never know.
All right,
Thanks a
Greg.
lot. That was
Great
beautiful.
seeing you.
Take care, man.
Okay. Bye bye.
Ciao.